All right, good morning class. How are you doing today? All right, so this is going to be my first video that I'll be posting that you can go back and look on what needs to be done for your benchmark. All right, so we're going to be looking at the benchmark SS.7.CG 3.7. And the benchmark requires us to explain the structure, functions, and processes of the legislative branch of government. Now, we're going to break this down into three components, or three parts. First, we're going to look at the structure, then we're going to look at the functions, then we're going to look at the processes. So this video, my focus is going to be on the structure. And in understanding the structure, also we want to look at the key vocabulary for this benchmark. Now, once we understand the vocabulary and we're able to apply it to real life situation, then we should be proficient on this benchmark. Let's take a look at the structure. Now, when we think about structure, we are thinking of how something is made up. Right? When we think about the function, we look how it works. And when we talk about the processes, we are looking at the steps that we have to follow to put certain things in place. All right, now, when we talk about the legislative branch, we should know that Article 1, when we open the US Constitution and right after the preamble, we are going to see Article 1. In those days when the Constitution was written, it was about article. Article is the same as sections. When we open a book today, we may see section 1, section 2, whatever. It is sections. Cool? Now, so Article 1 outlines the legislative branch of government. And we need to understand that the constitutional name for the legislative branch is Congress. Let's do that one more time. So Article 1 outlines the structure and function of legislative branch, and 2, the constitutional name for it is Congress. Now, Congress is made up of 2 houses. 1, the Senate, and 2, the House of Representatives. In short, we're going to say HOR. Now, for House of Rep. The House of Rep has 435 members. It's right here. That's one of our key vocabulary we should understand. House of Rep has 435 members. These members are selected by the people. Make sure you know that. They are selected by the people. In addition to that, it is based on the population size. So if a state has a population that is large, you're going to have more people representing that in comparison to a state with a smaller population. For example, Idaho versus Texas. All right? Now, the next house is the upper house. The upper house has 100 members, and we call that the Senate. Another name for the HOR is the lower house. Let me recap. I don't want to go too fast. Now, HOR has 435 and the Senate has 100. Now, together, the Senate and the HOR give you what is known as the Congress. So therefore, if my mathematical calculation is correct, then 435 and 100 give us 535. So the Congress is 535, which is the lower house and the upper house, or the Senate and the House of Representatives. Now, what we need to know is that the Vice President, it belongs to the executive branch, but the Vice President is the leader of the Senate. Always remember that. Now, the Vice President only votes in the Senate when there is a tie. 50-50. The Vice President is the one that should break that tie. All right? Now, in addition to that, when the vice president is absent, the president pro tempore will take over in the absence of the vice president. Now, the word temporary means temporary. So it's for a short period of time. Cool? Now, so let's go recap. Legislative branch, we said it is the Congress constitutionally, and it has two houses, lower house, upper house, House of Rep, Senate. Senate has 100 members, House of Rep has 435. Now, let me go back to the Senate a little bit. The Senate member, we have 100 senators, and it's going to be 2 per state, regardless of the size of the state. So this is where the founding fathers was intentional in making sure that the people were represented. Now, HOR is based on the proportion. Now, the Senate is not based on the proportion. Every state gets 2 representatives. Now, let's move on to the requirement to be a senator and the requirement to be a House of Representative. Now, to be a senator, you just got to be, and this is constitutional requirement. This is the qualification you need. You don't need nothing else. You believe that? All you need to be, for a senator, you got to be 30 years old. You must be a citizen in the United States for at least 9 years, and you must live in the state that you want to represent. Wow! 3 qualifications, 3 requirements. That's all it takes for you to become eligible to run for office to be a senator at the national level. Now, let's take a look at the House of Representatives. Now, to be a House of Rep member, all you need to be is 25 years old. 25 years old. Now, you gotta be a citizen for at least 7 years. And finally, you must live in the state that you want to represent. 3. Now, could I be a citizen? Yes, I can be a citizen. I'm a Jamaican. I can be a citizen through the process of naturalization. We know that. All right? But guess what now? Bear this in mind, that whether you are from this country or not, you could still run for office as long as you become a citizen over whether the 7 years or the 9-year period. Bear that in mind. All right, now let's move on to the word bicameral. Bicameral means 2 chamber. The word bi means 2. The word uni means 1. So you may have a unicameral legislature or you may have a bicameral legislature. Bicameral is where it has 2 houses. What are the 2 houses? House of Rep and Senate. Now, we should understand that the U.S. system of law, legislative, is bicameral. Let's recap one more time before we proceed. Now, so Congress has 535. Lower house is the same as House of Rep, and it has 435. To be a member of the House of Rep, we gotta be, come on, say it with me. We gotta be 25 years old. We gotta live in the state we want to represent, and we're gonna be a citizen for at least 7 years. On our way to the upper house, which is the Senate, we have 100 members, 2 per state. And for you to be a senator, you gotta be 30 years old. You gotta be a citizen for at least 9 years. And you must live in the state that you want to represent. So guess what? I am John Brown, and I am 28 years old. And I am 8 years into my citizenship, right? So 8 years ago, I became a citizen, and I live in Florida. Now, tell me which office could I run for? Panana, panana, panana. You are correct. If you had said you can run for office in Florida to be a House of Representative, then you are correct. You cannot run for office in Florida as a senator because you would not be 30 years old, neither would you have had 9 years of citizenship. Beautiful. Now, the main job of the legislative is to make laws. All right? Now, we are going to end right here as it relates to the structure.
To transition to our duty location.